Well, hello, good morning, and welcome back to Here Today, Where Tomorrow. My name's Rob, and on today's video, I'm going to take you on a deep dive and review of my recent time aboard the Carnival Freedom to find out whether this might be the ship for you. So recently, my sister and I did a 4-day cruise out of Port Canaveral aboard the Carnival Freedom. And in this video, we're going to go over the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, and the things that I learned about my time aboard the Carnival Freedom. And we're going to start at Embarkation. I have done a little over 20 cruises across 4 different cruise lines, and I have left out of 6 different ports across the United States. And honestly, Port Canaveral is in my top 3. Being that Port Canaveral is such a large port, it is so nice the way that they have everything laid out, mapped out, and easy to understand. There are so many people standing there to help guide you if, in fact, the giant glaring signs didn't tell you exactly where to go. There's a bunch of helpful staff. Now, I will say, this trip was a little bit different than most. Right now, they are doing a massive parking garage build at Terminal 6, where the Carnival Freedom was leaving out of. So as we went, dropped our bags off, usually you loop back around into Terminal 6 parking garage. They're building an 8-story second parking garage there. And so we ended up having to go over to Terminal 5, which was a bit of an interesting thing because Terminal 5 was already full of cars from whatever cruise had left Terminal 5 previously. So we ended up almost going all the way up to the top of the parking garage just to find a spot. Now, that's not going to be forever. They are blowing through that building process right now. And honestly, Terminal 5, Terminal 6, they're perpendicular to each other. It was very easy to walk down the stairs from parking garage in Terminal 5 to Terminal 6 to get aboard the ship. Now, I am Platinum with Carnival, which does afford me a priority embarkation, but honestly, arriving at around 11 o'clock for our sailing, which was a full sailing, there was no wait. We went in the priority line and then immediately joined general population in the security line. Then we went to the secondary security where you have to put your bags down and step back and they have a dog come through. And then after that, it was a free-for-all. Everybody just continued to walk. We walked up to the facial recognition, bada bing, bada bang, and we were ready to go. Walked on the gangway, jumped on the ship, and that was embarkation. Honestly, it was super easy. I have found Carnival, especially at Port Canaveral, Carnival blows through embarkation, and it is a great time. So honestly, Port Canaveral, the way that you guys have your stuff set up, I applaud you. Now let's talk about the ship itself, the Carnival Freedom, with its classic no-finned whale tail. This ship was built in 2006, delivered in 2007. Although it's gone into dry dock a couple of times, honestly, the ship does show some age. Now, that's not to say that it's not great. Honestly, they have really kept up the ship, aside from multiple fires. So, in 2022, there was a fire in one of the smokestacks of the whale tail, or the funnel. And unfortunately, it burned up one of those little wings. So it went into dry dock, they refitted it, and then less than 2 years later, another fire happened on the other side of the stacks. And so they ended up saying, you know what, we're just gonna nip it in the bud. And so this is a wingless whale tail, and I think it's very endearing, to be honest. It really stands out when you're looking. You can see the color scheme on the whale tail with no fins, and it's cute. But honestly, like I said, the ship does show a little bit of its age. It does have all the amenities that you would find. It's got the waterworks. It's got the movies, it's got the shows, it's got pretty much all the restaurants that you would find on some of the bigger class ships, albeit some of them are smaller venues, the Pizza Pirate, Guy's Burgers, Blue Iguana Cantina, things like that. All of those are a bit smaller to fit the ship, honestly, which I never felt like I ever had to wait too long. I think because the kitchens are a little bit smaller, they do run a little bit of a line at times. but that's not so good. We'll talk about the food quality in a little bit. But as far as the rest of the ship goes, it's got all the amenities. My sister Christy, who I was sailing with, did go to the fitness center and did some of their stretching classes. She felt like that was really great. When I did the 360 tour, I did walk through the spa. We haven't really done the kids clubs on the Freedom. When my wife and I and our daughter were on the Freedom last time, our young one was too young to go to the kids club. And so we haven't done the kids club on the Freedom. I assume that it's very similar to many of the other Carnival ships, which honestly, their kids club is pretty fantastic. So as far as like amenities, I felt like there was plenty of space. This Conquest class does have a ton of laying out seating areas. On the main deck, there are tiered seating with tons of sun loungers. For me personally, I'm not a big layout in the sun kind of guy. I was born and raised in Florida. I've been in the sun. Now I prefer the mountains. I prefer going on hikes. I want to go chase some waterfalls. That's what I'm into right now. And so laying out in the sun, not a big fan. So to me, that's all wasted space. My sister though, she laid out a bunch. She loved it. And so if you really want to lay out in the sun, this ship is perfect for that. There are tons of sun decks, laying out areas. The Serenity deck, the 21 and up area is lovely. So there's a lot of places that you could lay out. I felt like the shopping was adequate. I felt like all of the venues were good. There are some rooms that cruise ships are starting to get rid of, like the card room or the library or like small lounges and things like that. The Carnival Freedom still has all of those. So there is a ton of little nooks and crannies that if you ever just want to get away, you want to read a book, you want some quiet space, you want to go play a card game with your friends, you want to meditate, whatever you need to do, there are a lot of those little rooms available to do so, which I think is pretty cool. Also, they have a couple of those side venues. So Embarkation Day, 2 people got married. We watched 2 different weddings happen. One happened in the piano bar, and then the other one was in like the jazz swing time lounge across the way. It was pretty neat. So there are a lot of qualities of the Carnival Freedom that I do enjoy. As far as my personal opinion on the ship, its layout, etc., I think it's pretty good. It does get a little choppy at times. I'm not a big fan of walking through casinos, so it is kind of nice that on the promenade runs all along the wall, and so that way you're not walking through the casino, people smoking, etc. for our kid and stuff. So it's kind of nice so we can kind of hug the wall away from the casino and not have to just walk through it. So overall, I would give the ship, I don't know, a 7 out of 10. I wish they would update a few things. The decor is definitely from the mid 2000s, and that's okay. It does have some bit of cruise elegance to it. But yeah, that's going to be my take on the ship. So the next thing we are going to talk about is our stateroom, balcony stateroom 8228. I felt like the location in the ship was really nice. 9 and 10, that's kind of Lido deck, etc. And then, you kind of 5 is your promenade, 3, 4, 5 is kind of your main atrium promenade area. And so it was nice, a couple down, a couple up. We were somewhere right in the middle. We stayed in a suite on deck 7 a few years ago. That was like a fluke. They were trying to get people in all of their rooms, and they offered us an upgrade to a suite for less than $100. So I was like, sign me up, bro. I'm going to leave a link to the room tour so you can check that out. That's actually the most popular video on our channel with over 10,000 views of that stateroom. So there's just an anecdote there. But I think the stateroom was great. The temperature was very comfortable. Even though we were in the Bahamas, I never felt like the room was too hot or too cold. The temperature of the water in the shower was absolutely wonderful. It was nice and warm, sometimes hot. Everything worked well. There was no broken hinges. There was no wear and tear. They have taken care of the room very well. However, there are 2 things that I would gripe about. One is very minor, and that is a shower curtain in the bathroom. I'm a very large guy, and large guys just are a magnet to shower curtains. They want to hug me. They want to caress me. They want to whisper sweet nothings into my ear. And I am a married spud. Nobody touches me there but my wife. I'll tell you, this shower curtain got a little handsy sometimes, okay? So I had to slap a few times. Excuse me. I am a married spud. But aside from that, no big deal there. The only big caveat that I have is a huge caveat for people like me that have a medical device that needs to be plugged in by the bed. I am a CPAP user, therefore I must bring a CPAP machine on the cruise to survive. And I am not a huge fan of having to string extension cords all over the room. And unfortunately, in this stateroom, I had to do that. There are 2 American outlets and 1 international outlet, and they are all located at the desk and only at the desk. There are no USB-A, there are no USB-C. There are no household outlets anywhere else in the stateroom except at the desk, which is not near the beds. So unfortunately, I did have to run an extension cord. Hey, I'm putting the extension cord out now. Please be careful. If you got to get up in the middle of the night, use the restroom. Please don't trip over this. I would hate to see you trip and fall into the wall. Why? You may say, oh, well, they can't just go retrofit all these things. I beg to differ. At the beds, there are 2, 1 on each side, lamps that require power. Take out those lamps, put in new lamps that have outlets on the lamps. Now for me, a seasoned cruiser who's a YouTuber and has a ton of camera equipment, who brings extension cords and power strips, etc., it's not a problem. However, not everyone knows to bring these things. And so I just wish they would update the rooms by just putting in lamps by the bed that have an outlet built in. And it's got to be a household outlet, okay? Please don't give me a USB-A or a USB-C, okay? That's my soapbox. I'm going to get off of my soapbox now. Thank you very much. As far as the room goes, I would say it was a great room. I loved having a balcony. We were on the port side. Depending on where you're going, sometimes you would prefer to be on the starboard side or port side. There wasn't really any real reason why we needed to be on one or the other for this short cruise. So we were perfectly fine port side, and everything else was good. So I'm going to pause the video here for just a second. We're about halfway through. Just wanted to invite you to subscribe to the channel if any of this stuff has been helpful. We post a ton of cruising content. In fact, right after this, I'm going to start working on our Alaskan cruise sailing with Norwegian, and we were joined by some friends from PMB's Wide World of Ports. Go check them out. And I just booked with the Margaritaville at Sea, so a new cruise line for me that I'll be bringing to the channel. That will be a co-vlog, if you will, with our friend Jason from Members of Facebook, Jason. It's going to be 2 men in a tub, if you will. We're going to be sharing a room. We're both CPAP users, and we love staring into each other's eyes and saying goodnight to each other. I call him Spaceman, and he calls me Scuba Steve with our little CPAP masks on. It's very sweet. So you'll probably see that then. Okay, back to the video. So the next thing I want to talk about is something that's near and dear to my heart, which is the food. Now, I kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, but honestly, the food aboard the ship, I would easily give a 7 to an 8 out of 10. One of the issues I do have is Carnival, among many other cruise ships, have started cutting their costs, but raising our costs when it comes to food. Whether that's charging more for entrees or second or third entrees, or not offering things that once were offered. But the majority of the food, I would say, was well done. I will give respect to the Sun King Steakhouse. That was absolutely delicious. Pro tip, if you do the steakhouse on Embarkation Day, they will give you a free bottle of wine. It's a house white, house red. It's nothing to write home about, but if you plan on doing the Sun King Steakhouse, you might as well get a free bottle of wine while you're there, so book it for Embarkation night. We also were celebrating my birthday, and so aside from them singing me happy birthday, there was champagne brought. I don't know if they do that every night or if that's only if you're celebrating something, so you could also try to celebrate something and you get a free bottle of wine on Embarkation night, you get some champagne. You know, again, it's nothing top shelf, but it's something to do. All the rest of the food was also really, really good. We did do the upcharge sushi, which I believe was $9 a roll. We just got 2 rolls, nothing too crazy. And then sadly, I didn't get to try the Seafood Shack. That was the one thing I really wanted to do on this ship. I have seen the Seafood Shack on many other cruise ships, and unfortunately, I keep missing them. Whether it's like I'm not hungry when I go by there and see that they're open, and I go, ooh, when I'm hungry, I need to come back and do this. So then I come back a little bit and they're closed. So it's like we keep missing each other to a degree. And it wasn't a very long cruise, so trying some of the other free complimentary options was a little more on my list than to try the upcharge of the Seafood Shack. Personally, for me, I'm a huge fan of the main dining room, whether that's for brunch, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Anytime I can go in the main dining room, personally, that's my take. I'm not a huge fan of the buffet. We did the buffet a couple of times. There was nothing wrong with it. Personally, for me, usually it's me, my wife, and our daughter. Our daughter's only 4. She can't grab things for herself because it's too tall for her. And so the shuffle that we do in the buffet is, okay, let's find a seat. I'll sit with the kid. You go get your food. Go get a plate for the kid. Then I'll go get it. And so then no one's eating a hot meal at that point. We're not eating together. You know, like you're finishing your meal while I bring mine because they ran out of salad, you know, so I had to wait for a while or something. So it's a jumble. And I guess if you're on the go and you need to grab something real quick, the buffet's great. But for me personally, I would much rather sit down and have family time and someone else bring me the food that way. But again, that's a me preference. I did get a $5 gift card to the Cherry on Top, which is their candy, I almost said bar, I don't know what you call it, but your candy shop on board. And I did end up going to their by the pound candy where you kind of pick out all the different candy and you know, spent $5 and change to get that. And I believe that was a gift they gave to me because of my birthday. Of course, Guy's Burgers is delicious. Their donkey sauce is really, really good. Do not sleep on the watermelon salsa at the Blue Iguana Cantina. I personally like their tacos over their burritos. I'll go get just kind of one of each of their tacos, and I'll just douse the whole thing in their watermelon salsa. So it's just such a nice, refreshing melon burst flavor. Super, super good salsa. Of course, in the main dining room for dinner, they have the Carnival chocolate melting cake. Always ask for a side of peanut butter. That just takes it to the next level. Okay, just think Reese's cup. It's just Reese's Puffs, eat 'em up, you know, I mean, it's super good. So overall, the food was absolutely delicious, something I super loved about this cruise. Next thing I want to talk about is the staff. So as far as our room steward goes, was super attentive, asked us if we need anything. Every time we saw him in the hallway, he asked if we were good. He was really nice. Our dining room staff was really awesome. Like I said earlier, I love going to the main dining room. The dining room staff was always super accommodating. Paul was one of our kind of servers for our section, and really, really funny guy, super cool. He was the self-proclaimed only Nigerian aboard the ship, and was really, really fun, really engaging with us. So we looked forward to seeing him every night, which was cool. And then, of course, you can't talk about the staff without the fun squad, who were always around. They were doing all the trivia. They had a dance class that Christy attended, which was really cool. They had a couple of really fun games. And of course, the leader of the fun squad, the captain of the fun, if you will, TODD, Todd Evans, is a force to be reckoned with when it comes to energy and just like, I'm gonna say this is something I've never said before, like on purpose, but I say this from the bottom of my heart. The cruise director, Todd Evans, is a vibe. He is a vibe. And like, dude was always going and like super nice, super personable, was everywhere all the time. Carnival is so good about their cruise directors. They really put them out and about with the people. And I think that's so good. As I look at people that engage with my daughter, it's always been the Carnival cruise line cruise directors that have been engaging part of the family, you know, really makes you feel as if you're welcome here. And Todd Evans is no exception. So Todd, if you're watching this, thank you very much, sir. You are a god among cruise directors when it comes to that high energy. I really enjoyed the playlist productions aboard this ship. I just feel like they were limited by the production. And what I mean by that is you have performers who are singing and dancing their hearts out. They are putting it all on the line, and they're doing it all to a backing track. And that kills me. I think it ruins the vibe. It ruins the momentum of the show when someone's like, oh, it's time to play the song now, click, video killed the radio star, and you're like, oh God, man, you guys, like, there's something about a live band on stage that adds another level. And that's not to say every Carnival cruise ship doesn't have live music. They do. Unfortunately, on the Freedom, they were not. And I wish that we would go to fully live music. You got the talent, okay? The talent across the ship, the live music that was played. You got the violin trio, of course. There was a couple in the casino that were singing and rocking out every night. There was a band in the Red Frog pub, and our favorite, Owen was awesome. Owen, guitarist, who supposedly wasn't even supposed to be there. He works in the office, and someone was out, and so they were like, yo, dude, fill in. And he was like, all right, bet. And rocked it. Bro was all over the place. He was taking requests, and we were throwing everything at him. From the Pixies to Radiohead to Taylor Swift to, pop country, we were all over the place. I mean, I threw in John Denver. It's crazy. So we really did love Owen. Owen was probably one of our top favorite performers throughout the whole weekend. We really did enjoy finding him playing and then just sitting down for a few songs or for the whole evening if we could. But as far as the entertainment goes, cruise lines, Carnival really does focus on the fun and having the fun squad. They really are personable. They're very friendly, and they're very much go out of their way to step in front of you to be cordial and helpful, which I really appreciate. So I love the staff, the entertainment, all that kind of on the ship was great. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the ports of call. So we left Port Canaveral on Thursday. We had a sea day, which I love sea days on Friday. You really get to explore the ship and kind of feel the vibe of the ship on a sea day. Saturday, we were in the port of Nassau, then we went to Bimini on Sunday, and then back to Port Canaveral on Monday morning. If you want to see any of the deep dives into any of the things that I'm talking about, there's a whole series. We did a whole vlog series on the channel. You're more than welcome to go check that out. I will link that down below. I'll even put a card up here if you want to check it out. There is so much stuff in these vlogs that I don't get to talk about here just because I'm trying to make this review as deep but also as short as I possibly can. And if you know me, I talk forever. So if this is under 30 minutes, if you look down and it says less than 30 minutes, then I have accomplished a miracle. Because gosh, every single one of these clips I'm at like 10 or 15 minutes. So Nassau has come so far from where it was just a few years ago. The pandemic really hit them super hard. And honestly, I didn't know if they would be coming back, but they have invested so much into this cruise port area, and I am blown away by how awesome and how fun and inviting Nassau is now. You get off the ship, you are greeted by these lovely, lovely shaded areas that you could walk down because the pier is super long. The pier is super long, especially like us. We were all the way at the last little jut out, and so it was a lot of walking. Thankfully, the majority of it was in the shade. Once you walk into the port area, you have this huge screen that's showing all the different shopping and things you could check out. You walk in, you're greeted by the Junketing Museum, which is full of cultural and history stuff. I mean, great stuff in there. I have yet to go in there because I was filming that 3D tour of the port area of Nassau on my other VR tech channel. If you want to check that out, I'll put a card here. So I didn't have time to go into the Junketing Museum, but I've heard great things about it. Of course, right after that, you have kind of the handmade, locally made goods. Super awesome to have that in such an open, clean environment where you don't have to go hunting, that you can find those deals right there. Super great with that. And then of course you kind of open up into the more higher shopping level, the higher tier stuff, and they have gelato, they got a bar, they got food and drinks. You could hang out in some really great shops, and of course all the things you would come to know and love for the Bahamas. And then you walk out into that amphitheater, and man, I am craving for some steel drums to be just rocking out through that amphitheater. I feel like live music pumping through some speakers all through that cruise port area would just settle such a vibe. It would make it so much better. Unfortunately, I've never seen anyone there at the amphitheater. Got a great grassy area there, that huge stage setup. I can't wait. One day I would love to see a band playing there while everyone's out shopping and having a good time. course, right there you could leave the port area and then you go right into the straw market. So if you didn't find the local handmade goods you want inside that little area in the port, you're more than welcome to walk across to the world famous straw market and walk up and down the aisles there. They have so much stuff there. It is cool. So we personally went to Luca, which is right there next to Señor Frog's. It's this nice little pier that takes you out. They got great ceviche, great drinks, good prices. You're right there on the water. You get to see all the backs of the ships and, you know, people coming and going on their excursions on, you know, yachts and catamarans and jet skis. There was one time there was this kid on a jet ski just whipping around there. It was crazy. And there are always sea turtles swimming around right there. It is so fun to just sit there with a drink, the breeze, some ceviche, and sea turtles as far as the eye can see. 2, 3, I mean, they're just everywhere. So fun to watch. Great place to just sit, chill, take a break in the shade, watch the sea turtles and the rest of the world go by. I personally love Nassau and I look forward to going back every single time. It's so good to say that because it hasn't felt like that for a long time. Nassau, welcome back to the fold. That brings us to Bimini. This is the second time that I've been to Bimini. The first time I went to Bimini, it was like right after cruising started going to Bimini. It was the first time the Magic had ever been to Bimini. And so I don't know if they didn't know what they were doing. It was kind of confusing the first time we went there. Now it seems like they figured it out, okay? When you get off the ship in Bimini, you can walk down the pier, look over, check and see if you see any fishes because there's always a ton of tropical fish right there on the pier. But as you walk down the pier, they kind of split off into a couple areas, whether you have an excursion or not. You take the free tram if you want. That's what we do. You get on the free tram. There's a couple of stops that it makes. It makes a stop at Resort World Beach 360, which if you have a package, if you want a package, they have pools there. They have an adult pool, a family pool. They have bars. They have food. They have tons of different drinks. You can rent a chair, get a cabana. They have a ton of stuff there you can do. Or what I did, you can walk right through there. You'll be escorted out to the free beach area. Once you get out to the free beach area, turn left towards the rocks. If you walk up there and you go up on those rocks, you will get an awesome shot of the ship, okay? And no one's up there. I don't know why they don't have anyone up there. This is like a missed opportunity. If I lived there, I would set up like a photo booth there and charge people a couple of bucks to take their photos with their own phones kind of thing. Because honestly, it's such a good shot. I took a couple shots of me eating the ship because I don't know, I'm a goober like that. So yeah, it's a great spot there. Once you get back on the tram, they'll stop at the Hilton, which has a casino in it. They'll also stop at where you can rent a golf cart. They have a ton of golf carts to rent. They can take you all over the place. Taxis as well. If you want to go take a taxi into the rest of the island, you can. And then they'll stop one last time at the beaches by the front of the pier, which is where my sister went. She went and laid out on that free beach near the pier closest to the ship, and she had a wonderful time. She met up with some of the friends that she had made on the ship, and she really, really enjoyed that. She says that that was probably her favorite part of Bimini, was riding the tram around and then getting off and enjoying the beach time. Pro tip, bring your towel from the ship, okay? If you want to spend money on a chair, that's your prerogative. If you want to go to a free beach and keep it free, bring your towel from the ship because there's no places to sit that don't cost you nothing, okay? Bimini's great. We love Bimini. Nassau was awesome. I would say for the ports, 10 out of 10. I love both of these ports and I would definitely do them again. And that brings us to the end, disembarkation. There are a couple of different ways you can get off of the ship. You can take your bags off with you, and that's called express debarkation. They have a certain time that they will just release everyone. If you're doing that, you carry them all down the stairs, or if you can get an elevator, you do it. You can just get off whenever they say get off. Or you can check your luggage. They will have numbered luggage tags that you will put on your bag, and you have to put them out in the hallway the night before disembarkation. So in our case, we got off the ship on Monday, Sunday night, before 10 p.m., we had to put them out of the room. Because I am priority with being platinum, we got tag number 2. So when we go into the terminal to find our luggage, we would find them at the section labeled 2. Or so we thought. So Sunday night, we check our bags. I mark them, write all of our stuff, information on them, put them outside. They take them before 10 o'clock. The next morning, we get up, we wait for our time, we go down to the Victoriana Theater where the priority debarkation part is because we are platinum. We waited there for maybe 10 or 15 minutes and then they called us and says, get off the ship, we got more people coming on. So it was less than an hour from the moment we left our room that morning to being checked off of the ship, walking down the gangway. So we walked into the terminal, we went to our luggage section number 2, found my bag lickety split, and then couldn't find Christy's bag. Ultimately, I did find her bag not but 20 minutes later. It was in the section number 6 with its section number 2 tag still on it. So I don't know how that got mixed up, but no big deal, nope, no foul. My flight wasn't till later in the day, so we weren't like in any super rush or anything. But yeah, we blew right through customs. There was no problem. They did the facial scan just like they did when we got on the ship, and we were home free. We walked right to the car, pulled right out, hit the road, Jack, went to Starbucks and got some Starbucks coffee on the way to Tampa to fly out. Great debarkation, just as easy as the embarkation. Again, I don't know if that's Carnival, I don't know if that's Port Canaveral, I don't know if that's a little bit of both and the perfect marrying of two people that really want to get things done. But it was awesome, an awesome embarkation and debarkation. And overall, I had a great cruise. I love spending time with my sister or any of my siblings. So Christy, if you're watching this, thank you. Thank you for putting up with my having to film a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Don't eat till I take a picture of it. Feed the camera first, you know, all that stuff. But yeah, it was such a great time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and leave it a like and comment. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that you liked or didn't like on your sailing? Or are you preparing for the sailing aboard the Carnival Freedom and you're kind of trying to find some information out? The Carnival Freedom is a great ship. We had a great time. I would 100% encourage people to go ahead and book that cruise aboard the Carnival Freedom. It is an absolute blast of a time. My name's Rob from Here Today, Where Tomorrow, and we will see you there. If you like this video and want to see more, please head on over to the channel and subscribe. And if you want to get notified, ring that little bell. We upload new videos every week.